Hello, welcome again to Ryan's Basement. Today we're outside getting some sunshine in a crisp January. We're going to be talking to my good friend Emily Penton about the carnivore diet and beyond carnivore diet, healing, sort of the mental aspects of these things. And I will be saving this live so that you can check it out afterwards. We're going to go about 30 minutes and then we should have a good old time. There she is. Let me add her in. Wherever you are in the world. Let's see if I can. Ah,
Hi.
awesome. Sweet. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Ryan?
I'm
So good to talk to you again.
Yeah, it seems like yesterday that we talked actually. It's been a hot minute though.
It has been. I mean, I feel like I talk to you every day though, because I get to watch your your posts.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But so you just got through a week of workshop, correct?
Correct.
How did it go? How was the vibe? You just like, are you exhausted or are you like hyped on energy right now?
It was so funny because going into it, I was like on guard. Like I was ready for people to like attack me
Mm.
and like, I was gonna have to defend my stance and everything. And it was like 56 people of just openness and love and like ready to learn, and nobody was coming at me. It
That's awesome.
was incredible.
That's pretty great. I mean, I always think about that. I mean, it's hard enough coming online or posting anything that is considered maybe fringe, which at this point, me and you have probably been so far in the fringe that, I mean, almost nothing I hear that ends up being truth surprises me anymore. But there's always sort of that underlying fear of when you post something or you put yourself out there enough or you do a workshop like you just did where you feel like, man, there's going to be scrutiny. There's going to be people coming at me for, basically spilling out, my beliefs or whatever's been my truth. And it's like, it's this hump that you have to get over. I've been talking to some of my friends over here at my girlfriend's house that are sort of doing their own social media stuff. And I was just telling them, like, you just got to upload and just like believe in what you're doing and sort of like tune out the noise, like listen to people's feedback. But you got to remember at the end of the day, this is your journey and you got to sort of like feel out what's going to work for you. And especially for what you're doing is like you're working intimately with people and trying to help them discover what's going to work for them and work for their health. And to be a coach, I feel like it's vulnerable enough to be someone that's trying to better themselves and like seek out the information, but you have to be equally as vulnerable as that person trying to help them out if you really want to meet them on the level that is necessary for them to have that personal growth you want to see. And so like doing what you've been doing is really big because it takes that teamwork to make the dream work or whatever the saying is. But it's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true.
And I found that I have to be myself.
Oh yeah.
Like there's literally no other version of this that I can be except for me. And nothing else is going to work. If I'm not authentically me, number one, it doesn't matter what my posts are or what, my videos are and my work with my clients. If I show up as anything else except for completely authentically, transparently me, it's just not going to work. And because that's what I'm calling out of them, I need them to show up to our work as transparent and real and them as possible.
So let's talk about that. I actually really like that word authenticity. I mean, it's something I've actually really struggled with for many, many years because I have always been, and this has sort of been like my sort of healing my trauma journey and sort of like that, the whole thing with you and Beyond Carnivore is like, what are these underlying things that keep us back from healing? Like we have something as therapeutic as the carnivore diet and it isn't enough for so many people. And that's because there's like this huge other facet of health that you can keep yourself back. It sounds kind of really woo-woo, but like your mind can keep you back from healing. Like the way and I talk about this with my girlfriend all the time because we both have been through so much of this like trauma just like from living. Just like alcoholic fathers and like just like family drama stuff and childhood bullying and all these things that like create these scars in your like mental, like your mental being that you have to work through. And so authenticity, especially online, to be your true self is something I still work on. I have to catch myself because I get into this sort of performance facade of like, who is the ideal Ryan that I want to portray to the world? And it's like, I want everyone online, I feel like, is like, got to be our best selves. And it's really hard to be your real selves, which isn't perfect all the time. And especially when, like you said, you're working with people intimately, like you are, you have to be there. Especially for them, because otherwise it's not going to work. And so I went way off. I went way off track. I had like a very succinct question.
I love it. I love it.
I was going to ask you, like, what's the difference between authenticity and then focusing too much on being perfect? Because I feel like our idea of authenticity is like this perfect image of ourselves where we have it all together. You know what I mean? That's what I think sometimes when I think of like, oh, what is portraying authenticity? And then it's like, the minute you think that, you're automatically inauthentic because it's portrayal. And so for me, like, how do you battle? I love your your perspective on like this battle between like perfectionism and authenticity and where they meet and sort of clash and all that stuff.
Yeah. The reason that I know that I have to come with authenticity is because that's what I ask of my clients. I ask them to give me the good, the bad, and the ugly. I don't want to just hear from you on your good days because I can't help you pull yourself out of the pit of misery if you just show me the good. If you just give me, your Instagram reels, that's not what I want. I want the ugly. I want the moments where you're just like, you know what? I'm elbow deep in a bag of Doritos right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. I need you to still talk to me so that I have the opportunity to love you in that moment. I can't love you in that moment if you don't show it to me. And so that authenticity is what I need. And I actually tell them, I don't care about your perfection. You don't get a freaking gold star at the end of this. You don't get a medal. You don't even get a certificate. Like, what you get is a transformed life. And we're not going to get that by being perfection. We're going to get that by being authentic.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. It's something that's been on my mind over the last couple months because it was actually really funny. So I've been doing the carnivore, like January carnivore month thing. And it was 5 days in, I was doing great. Because it was kind of second nature anyways, because I'm basically almost there all year round anyways. It's just like fermented foods here and there and stuff like that. But I was like 5 days in and I was just kind of going with the flow. And I opened my fridge one day, just got home, and I had this jar of pickles in there. And I was like, man, this thing has been here forever. It's going to go bad. So I just like started eating it. And like 5 pickles in, I was like, dang it. I was like, oh man. And it's not like the worst thing in the world, like to eat pickles. But I didn't realize it till like I was like 4 or 5 deep. And I was like, man, I was doing so good for 5 days and I didn't even think about it. But then I just got back on track and it was just is what it is. I think the thing with like these challenge months, I think they're really great to get people in the zone and get like sort of that commitment and community. And you find people that are doing the same things and you sort of connect and you have some accountability then. But it's like when you fail at it, it's like sometimes it's like the worst feeling and then you go off the deep end and you sort of go away from everything you believe because you feel like you failed. And so in my personal belief system, I'm not like a giant fan of like the challenge mindset because I don't think it's like a sustainable thing, only because you go into it with like you have a finite beginning and end when really this journey is like about constant evolution. And so it's just one of those things. But those were like one of my moments like this last month where I was like, so close to getting something. And then I just mindfully went out. But I'd love to explore sort of like the base ideas of what you went through your workshop and sort of like the growth mindset you've had as a coach coming out of it. Because I think this is your second one, right?
Yeah.
So I'd love to know sort of how because I know you talk about a lot of things that are outside of just like food. And so I'd love to kind of go through some of those and what your favorite things were from that. And sort of I'll kind of give the floor to you.
Yeah, this workshop was actually even more beyond
Yeah.
carnivore, because we actually talked about prayer. And the hard part about that is that anytime that you talk about anything like spiritual or something from the Bible, I am afraid of ostracizing people, or for people to go, oh well, you know, she's a Christian, or she believes in prayer, so she's not going to accept me. And so I just had to release that and go, you know what? Anybody who talks to me for more than 5 minutes knows that I am just full of love, and that I am not coming with any condemnation or judgment. But it got to the point where I couldn't shut up because of the miracles that were happening, like straight miracles. And my friend, Carnivore's Angel, she has struggled for years. She went from keto to carnivore. She had a little bit of success, and then all of a sudden everything would come back. And she has Lyme's disease and H. pylori and all of these things, and nothing was working. And then I was over here learning this prayer technique through it's through Dr. Bradley Nelson's The Emotion Code. And you basically have these very concentrated, very specific prayers, and you release trapped emotions. Yeah. And so I was over here going, okay, she's going to think I'm so weird. But I finally had to tell her, because I was using it on myself, my family, my clients. And so I came to her and I'm like, Amy, like, I got to tell you about this. And I know it's weird. I know it's woo woo, but what do you think? And she went and asked her husband, and he was like, actually, if it was anybody else, I would say no, but Emily, yeah, go ahead. And so we started doing these very specific prayers, and I got to tell you, some of her sessions were like 2.5 hours long.
Wow.
Like
that's intense.
She had a lot of trapped emotions and a lot of complications, like we had to like reset her microbiome, and like, and I know this sounds hilarious that I prayed about resetting her microbiome. I prayed about resetting her thyroid, but I did. And my intentions were pure, and we prayed, and she is healthier now than she has ever been. She's able to eat more foods.
That's cool.
Now than she's ever been. And we even used the method through muscle testing to check different foods that she can eat. And the first one, we were both laughing. We thought it was hilarious because we're carnivores, you know? Yeah. And the first food that came up, one of the first foods, was pumpkin.
Oh, that's pretty
And
fun.
she was like, pumpkin? Like, this doesn't even make sense. And none of it made sense. None of it made sense to us in the logical mind. But we just followed it with, oh, Amy's here.
Yeah, I saw her comment.
We just followed it with that trusting of God, trusting of the Holy Spirit to really guide us. And the miracles happened. I mean, she is now able to eat food. She went, you know, and had food out to eat and didn't have a reaction.
That's awesome.
And that's not been us. I mean, we're the canaries in the minefield, or in the mine, and we're always sick and reacting to this or that. So it got to the point where I just had to tell everyone, and now I'm using this method on my clients, and
awesome.
It's beyond carnivore.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty beyond. But though, I've seen so much stuff that I cannot believe that like stuff like that's possible. You know what I mean? I've seen so much weird stuff like in the last like 3 years of my own journey with people's like healing, or like, and I'll notice things in people that it's sort of one of those things where I almost have to hold myself back, because I have so much. I'm sure you do this too with just people in your everyday life that you could help, but it's like they're not at that point where they're ready yet to receive things. And so it's just like those moments where it's like, man, I hear your problem, and I can't say like I know the solution 100% because like you can't, but it's like, the direction people need to go in, and you have to let them go through their own sort of journey to get to the moment where they are open to, hearing what you have to say. And so it's interesting, but there's this whole thing with energy that I just know is like absolutely at the core, the most powerful. And it's something that, I'm a real Jack Cruz sort of simp.
Yeah.
I simp for Jack Cruz, but, that's like, it's like this next level stuff where like I read this book, which I don't know if you've checked out, called The Body Electric.
I haven't heard that.
It's a very good book. Talks about energy, all sort of Jack Cruz stuff. But it's sort of one of those books where you read it and it's actually based in scientific literature, which makes it even more kind of interesting. But you read it and you're just like, why is no one talking about this? Like, how are all these things like connected? And then like just our modern environment and the way we're raised like makes no sense at all to anything that we do. So like hearing you having these successes doesn't surprise me at all, with just the things that I've read out there just are insanely powerful.
Some of it's really practical. Like for Amy, 3 times it came up that she needs to do more grounding.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was just like, okay, fine. I'm listening. I'll do more grounding. But some of it's really practical stuff, but we are so inundated with all the noise of everything else that we're just like, oh, should I follow this doctor or this YouTuber who's showing her belly button? Who should I follow? And so what I love is this taps into your subconscious, and this allows you to follow your inner clarity.
Yeah, that's what I was
to
going to
really
say.
get there.
That's what I was going to say, is like, I feel like truly innately, if we have the ability, like you said, through like when you're using prayer or whatever it is, whatever means it is,
muscle testing
to remove that noise. I think that's the most difficult part, because once you do that, I feel like it is like innate, inside what you got to do. And like you said, some of it is super, super practical things. I think honestly, the most practical things are the hardest to do. Because they're usually free, and they're usually like something that someone can't do for you or can't give you. You know what I mean? It's not like buying a red light. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like touching dirt. It's like, it's the easiest thing in the world because almost all of us have access to it. But it's like one of the hardest things I have to get myself to do sometimes. As well, in winter, it's harder. Because it's freezing. I'm like doing this outside because I'm getting my outside time. We're doing it now.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where like I every day like will go around the neighborhood, like walking around shirtless in 30-degree temperature to like get sun exposure in the winter, because I know I still need it, even though it's winter and I'm freezing my butt off. But it's one of those things that I have to like force myself to do. So like some of that, and I think too, like, it's great that you can work with people one-on-one to do sort of this like the prayer work and this mindset stuff, because it's really hard to unravel by yourself. Sometimes I think, especially when it's your own internal like traumas or whatever you have, that you kind of know they're there and you kind of know what they are. But I feel like when it's your own, you have all these shields up that prevent you from working on them, because you've learned to, quote, cope, whatever that means. So I think it's difficult to break through those barriers by yourself. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But that work you've done with Perma Angel is like insane. That's some next level stuff that I've heard.
It really is. And what I found is a lot of my clients that come to me, they have so much trauma. And so what I just picture this visual of this person not only laying in a pit, but they've got boulders on top of them. And so they literally can't lift up that boulder to get it off of them. And so I'm able to go in and to do this energy work, to do these prayers, to like remove these boulders. And then they're able to do more of the work themselves. And so I love it so much. And I really tried to not talk about it because I was like, everyone's going to think I'm crazy. Like everyone's going to think I'm just woo woo and weird. And now I don't care. I just don't care because of the intimate conversations I'm getting with my client. I had a client today who literally bawled through the entire session. And she was just like, I feel this. Everything is releasing from past severe traumas.
That's awesome.
And so I'm just like, I don't care. I just don't care, because the people who think I'm crazy, that's fine. They're not my audience. My audience are the miserable people who have tried everything and just need help, and will do something as crazy as a prayer to get that help.
The thing that's hilarious to me about it too is like, whether you quote believe in it or not or whatever, is like it literally hurts you in no way to even try it. So it's one of those things where I don't know why anyone wouldn't be open to it, because at worst, nothing changes. You know what I mean? It's not like someone's prodding you or doing invasive surgery or something, where it's exploratory and they truly have no idea and they're going in there. It's like, it's not that risky. So it's really fascinating to me. But people do have like really strong opinions about that stuff. I don't know. I feel like if we could all get to a place where we're far more open-minded about any of this stuff, I think it'd be great, because 90% of it is like harmful in no way. It's all this ideological stuff, which I think we put way too much energy in. You know what I mean? I do want to ask you one thing about the muscle testing though, because I've had muscle testing done on myself a long time ago. But how does it work like through virtual? Like what's that experience like? Because I've only ever done muscle testing like in person with somebody. And sort of like, what's that process like for you working with someone?
Yeah, and what I find is that it's very important for the other person's central nervous system to be on board for this. Mm-hmm. So I've heard of other people say that they do the muscle testing like this, the ring test, where if it holds, it's a yes, and if it gives, it's a no. But you can't tell that that's what I'm doing. You can't. I could be sitting here totally lying to you, going, "Oh, I'm trying, and it's it's a yes or it's a no." It's not working to convey and to translate. And so I found actually that what I can do is take my central nervous system, my subconscious, and I can have it extended into an object, and that object is a pendulum. And so that is really taking me out, because now the Christians are saying, oh, she's a witch, or, oh, she's, operating in witchcraft or New Age. And then I pray to Jesus. And so now the New Age people are going, what? She's using a pendulum, but she's praying to Jesus, but that's just who I am. And so I ask the pendulum and I get yes and no. So let me see if I can demonstrate for you.
Yeah, let's try it.
All right. Show me yes. And so the problem is you can't see the top of my hand. And the top of my hand is not moving at all. And then show me yes. Show me no. And so that's no. So my yes is in a circle, counterclockwise or clockwise, and then no. And so we're able to navigate these menus in the Body Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that.
And we go directly to the problem. And what's so funny is when I first got the app is $29 a month. Yeah. And I was like, that's ridiculous. But then I thought about, that's how much a copay is. And you go to a doctor and they're guessing. They're running all these tests and they're guessing. And then they're guessing at the solution. And they're just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks.
And me and you had this long discussion in our last live, which we can probably talk about for like a second. But is that pretty much mental health care is 100% guessing. And for people we talked about your bipolar and stuff like that in our last live. And like mood stabilizers and all this stuff, they're totally guessing with all of these things. And like, I think one of the things that actually ends up working one of the best is lithium. But it's funny because it's literally just a mineral. So it's not really a drug. It's not like a pharmaceutical chemical. But I just think But literally, like all mental health, like care today is strict guessing, 100%. Like they have a list of drugs, and they basically run through all of them until they find one that works, and then that's the one you're on until it stops working, and then they do it again. Um, and I know people that are going through this right now, like with their bipolar, like they're like, oh man, I've been in mania, and like I gotta switch mood stabilizers and stuff. I'm like, man, that's just like it's just this whole trip. And so yeah, it's funny though, because it's like we go to them to remove the guesswork, but they're just guessing with degrees. Basically.
Exactly. And so what I love about this method is it goes right to the solution, and then it go or right to the problem, and then right to the solution.
Yeah.
And then like you said, what do you have to lose? You're
You
saying
really
a prayer.
don't.
You're
Yeah.
saying a prayer. Okay.
I find it, and that I think this kind of goes back to where people are at mentally, but more so like I don't want to say trauma, but it's like I found that most people that are, because you know people that are like I want to say anti-Christian, but the ones that are like the mega skeptics of like any of that sort of like faith-based stuff or prayer or any of that stuff. Which believe me, I've been one of those people, 100%, 100%. I was one of those people. Not so much anymore. Very much more open-minded to everything, pretty much. But most of those people are like they have like this anger towards that like system of belief that's rooted in some trauma of theirs, and that's something that they have to work through, and that's something that actually is holding them back from like their potential healing. And that's sort of like a realization I had with myself, because I would see like videos on TikTok or something of like I was pretty super anti-faith like for a long time for practically no reason, but I would like get angry at these people. And at the end of the day, like they're not hurting anybody. Most of the time. Sometimes there's like the scam things, but like there's like I don't know. It's just like a whole new like mindset that I've gotten in over the last like year or so with all this stuff is like I'm very much more open to hearing people's experiences with this stuff, because if it works for someone, you might as well hear them out, because if you're still seeking things, it might be worth trying, like you're saying, and you got nothing to lose. So I find it super fascinating.
Yeah, and I even welcome people to come work with me who don't believe, the way that I do,
Oh yeah.
uh, because I still think that it can benefit you, and it has. I can't get over the stories that are coming out
Hmm.
with this work, and so I just got to the point where I couldn't keep it to myself, like I had to tell, because carnivore doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
We need to find what does work for us.
Yeah. No, totally. I think even if it works, it only works to like a point, because there's I mean that I feel like the whole problem with the way like social media health is that each of us have sort of a niche where like the light people, the seed oil people, the like only meat, and it's like we have one thing that we don't preach about, is like the blood sugar people, and it's like all those things matter, but it's about all those things that are like interconnected in certain ways. And so it's the one troubling part about like how social media that I hate, because everyone's just trying to like get their voice out there, which I think is valuable. But in order to do it, you have to like niche yourself into a position that is only slightly the truth. You're getting like one glimpse of the truth. Like it's not all about food. Like food's big, but like food doesn't matter if you live in a moldy house. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's
so
like
true.
it's like all these things that, and it's not even like just say it's like not even toxic exposure. Like if you have trauma, like if you have like deep seated trauma that you have not been able to work through, like it doesn't matter if you're in like in the most if you moved like the middle like Nicaragua or something and you're in the jungle, it doesn't matter, because you'll probably be better, but you'll never be fully what you could be if you don't work through that stuff. And that's what I found true for me, is like that's stuff that I've been working on like the last years, like all this stuff that I pushed under the rug, you know what I mean? So I think
Oh
it's
yeah.
pretty cool what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
But as we're winding down, I'd love for you to just say like where people can reach out to you, hit you up for like consultations and stuff like that, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, the best way to find me is emilypenton.com. Everything is on there.
Sweet.
Just emilypenton.com, and then reach out to me. And I just want to thank you, Ryan, because there's so many times that I've just been flipping through, and there's so much junk in my news feed. And every time I come to one of your videos, it's always so nice that I have this good, clean message that is just speaking truth. You know,
appreciate that.
You're not, trying to twist and manipulate and shock and awe, and you're just delivering good information to people. And so I'm just so grateful for you.
I appreciate that. I feel the same way about you, honestly. It's hard because of all the things we just mentioned with the social media thing, because it's like, how do I position myself and also be authentic? It's almost impossible. It's very difficult, but I appreciate people like you that do what you do. So please, if you are interested in reaching out to her, do so. I'm going to save this live for anybody that hasn't seen parts of it. But Emily, thank you so much for joining me. It was a wonderful time. We'll do it again.
No problem. Have a great day, Ryan.
You too. Have a great one, my friend. And you too, everyone in the chat.